Asamaka, a god-forsaken place if ever there was one. Made up of some concrete block houses of the most primitive kind for the customs and the army, with skeletons of vehicles that weren't going anywhere. With a shanty village of desert dwellers, scratching a living out of their animals, sewing cloth, and trading in food and whatever else could be bought and sold. A miserable existence in a miserable environment. We had an enforced stay here in Asamaka for almost 4 days at the behest of the army, waiting for an armed escort to take us through the bandit country. They made it clear that the desert bandits would be watching and waiting for us, and so common sense prevailed. And we rested up and made the most of it. Asamaka was a staging post for the local bus company, or whatever they like to call it. And the longer we watched, the greater our disbelief that they could get any more on board. And yet they loaded layer after layer of everything, probably including the kitchen sink, and then headed off some 600 kilometers across the desert to the next large market town. Our escort had arrived. A bunch of Nigerian cowboys, actually, with their cannon on top and their AK-47s, all ready to blow the bandits away. Racing the 600 kilometers to comparative safety. The trucks in the convoy had a real struggle to keep up, but they would be of little interest to the highly mobile and heavily armed bandits. The bandits, as we were told, were only after our Land Rovers, and given half a chance, they would take these and tell us to walk the rest of the way. And even the army got stuck, much to their embarrassment. So off again as fast as we could travel, to pass beyond the reaches of Islam and the bandits, and to finally reach safety and civilization again in the friendly Nigerian township of Agadez. We were now in Black Africa, with a route that would take us westwards into Burkina Faso, then into Mali, before turning south into the Ivory Coast and its capital of Abidjan. Heading westwards now, across baked and arid land, to reach Niamey, the capital of Niger, a strange mixture of the old and the new. And then on to the small fishing village of Bourbon. We wanted to experience the life of a small village in Black Africa, and lucky we were to chance upon this one, to share some fun with the local children. And to watch the gathering of the water at the start of the day. And then to less peaceful scenes, where bravado got the better of discretion. Heading further westwards into Bobo Dioulasso, capital of Burkina Faso, with one of the most colourful markets we encountered during our entire travels. And then on the day before Christmas, some relaxing and refreshing hours amongst some remote cascades. Not a pretty sight, but what a great way to shed the ingrained sand from the desert. Into Mali now, and crossing a tributary of the Niger River in typical African style. To reach Jenny, a 12th century market town which in the 16th century was the centre of a major West African trading empire, and which even now retains much of its original character, including the largest mosque of mud and split timber in this part of the world. The day starts early for the children in school, learning to write in Arabic with grace and style. It was market day, when African traders and their families travel for many miles to ply their trade. The colours, the sights and the sounds were quite exceptional. Returning now to head further north for Mopti, capital of Mali. We had wanted to see and experience something of life on the great Niger River, which winds its way for thousands of miles through northwest Africa. And so what better way than to do it as the locals do, in a dugout canoe, a pirogue. To see something of river life in its various forms. And to finish the day in a riverside village. To wake the next morning with the animals and the fishermen. And a noisy welcome from an early morning school. And to meet and share experiences with the local people. To experience the Harmattan winds which sweep across North Africa at this time of the year. Turning south now to the Biendagara escarpment, home of the Dogon tribe since the 16th century. And before them the Pygmies, who lived in the caves in the cliff face. Amongst the Dogon, their rituals and fetishes have a strong association with death and the spirits, involving skeletons and blood tokens, and a medicine man who rules supreme, and whom they still bury in caves in the face of the cliff. A way of life which still follows the traditions of centuries ago. Across country to find a secluded camp for the evening. Night security was always a top priority for us, to protect against overly inquisitive tribespeople who wanted to share in our belongings. But importantly, it gave us a chance to catch up on some daily chores and activities. Including a team photograph, before heading further south and into the Ivory Coast. And a village of excited youngsters who gave us as much fun as they seemed to get from us, with more than a little intrigue as to the camera. To experience a bridge of liana vines. Through the ebony forests to see something of the milling. And then to finally arrive at the coast and our first sight of the sea for more than 2 months. including a shipwreck, with the same fate for the tug that had come to its rescue. To then spend some time sharing in the lives of the fishing villagers, to watch them at work. And to see them marketing the fruits of their labours with a variety of seafood which was as bountiful as it was colourful. To watch the irrepressibly happy children at play. And so we completed the first leg of this journey into Africa at Abidjan, capital of the Ivory Coast. Feeling good that as ordinary people we had been able to meet and match the challenges of the Sahara and of Black Africa. But rather than being satisfied with this, and the rest and relaxation to follow, we found we had an even stronger and more compelling urge to pit ourselves against a journey across Central Africa.